One.
Hello, my friends. This is another special episode of Videoland Express. I'm Mark with you. I know we didn't have any music right now, so if you didn't hear any music, don't, start touching the buttons on your computer or your cable box and say, what happened to the music? What's intro music? It's just, this time it just didn't happen, all right? So get over it. So I'm glad you're all here today with me. Another episode. I know we have nothing to show you back here because there was really nothing out there except for a couple of previews that came out recently of DC from San Diego Comic-Con, which we spoke last time, Shazam, Aquaman, and they even talked about Wonder Woman 2. But since we don't have it, I hope we can all look past it and continue onward and go forward. So since this is going to be a special episode, since we're not talking about any particular, we're not going to be talking about any particular movie at the end. There's still going to be like a 10-minute segment I'm going to do for YouTube. And hopefully when, Frank comes back, we could start putting them up. I want to start putting them up too, but I guess I'm going to wait till Frank comes in and then we're going to start putting them up with the special bonus 10 minutes for the YouTube fans. So please watch us on YouTube. It's Videoland Express on YouTube. Give us a subscription, like us, help us become influencers so that when we can influence people out there to say, oh, this is what the general public who are more in tune with the theaters and the movies are really into. They're into the psychology of the films. So we want people to check us out, subscribe, give us a like, and continue watching us. The more we start spreading like a virus, the more we'll start influencing everyone's mind like Inception. So, a couple of references there. So right now, since this is going to be a special episode, and we're really not going to talk about any one movie in particular, and sometimes we don't, I guess this weekend happened to be one of those weekends where all the movies that were going to come out have already come out. Any other thing, the summer's almost over, I guess. This is the middle of the summer. You're seeing me right now Saturday, August 11th. If you're watching live, 2018. Sorry, I almost said 2017. It's 2018, August 11 at 5 o'clock if you're watching live. And if you're not, we're going to be putting it up on YouTube. You're going to then see it on YouTube. I'm hoping that I can put some of these up. Maybe I'll put them up on my channel. I will wait till our buddy Frankie comes back and then he'll put it up on his channel, I hope. So, he's working a lot of things, a lot of projects going on, a lot of personal things. So I'm hoping when he resolves that, he can come back and we can then we could all look back at our homework and discuss. So let's give it to Frankie. All right. Let me just take a quick swig of this. It's just water, by the way, okay? Anyway, getting back to what I was saying last week, or 2 weeks ago, where I was saying that I'm starting to collect physical media, because I was one of those people who started collecting physical media, especially when it started getting to the DVD phase, and then they went to Blu-ray. And I think sort of around Blu-ray, and when I started discovering Netflix or Ultraviolet Digital or Apple Digital, and I started saying to myself, maybe I'll just buy the digital copies, and then that'll be the end of physical media, and physical media won't exist anymore. We'll stop looking at it. And Best Buy, Target has talked about it, that they're going to get rid of all their physical media because it's taking too much space in the store. So they probably won't have any physical games, no physical music. Everything is going to be digital. But then why do you need them? You could just buy from Apple. So if they're going to shoot themselves in the foot and say the only thing that Target and Best Buy and Barnes & Nobles, they were distinguishing themselves apart from Apple or Netflix because they don't have physical media, and you might pay more money for digital, for rental, for, I guess, to own it. And you only own it for as long as probably you survive, but once you depart, all that money you spent, all that money you gave to them, for they could store your virtual memory of these movies, that once you're gone, it's gone. It's like they say, it's up in the clouds and gone. So, getting back to what I was saying, going back to collecting physical media, I started compiling a list. So far, this is my list, and I have maybe upwards to about 2.5 pages, because I write very small, some of my favorites of my collection, and some of the things I've started coming up to collecting, and some of the things that I'm looking towards. I'm going to look at this and say, these are the ones I want to start collecting. I can go through the list as far as the ones I want to start collecting, because I started gathering them little by little. In my purchases of DVD and Blu-ray for 2018, I started saying to myself, in my collection I don't have Coming to America from Eddie Murphy, because Eddie Murphy was one of my favorite comedians back in the day when he started on Saturday Night Live, and I was there, one of the first, well, not one of the first, I guess, one of the many people who were there to watch Eddie Murphy and his rise to fame in Saturday Night Live, because before Saturday Night Live, they really didn't have a major character like Eddie Murphy, a major player, a major, like you'll say, young comedian that was from the city, I think he was from Brooklyn or Queens, I forget, I'm sorry, Eddie Murphy, that people would see some young guy. I think at the time maybe he was 18 or something. He was a young rising comedian. He said that he started working when he was like 16 as a comedian, doing comedy stand-up shows. And I thought it was amazing. When I first saw him, the thing that I enjoyed about him was his level of honesty, his rawness, and that anything could come out of his mouth. Because before then, Saturday Night Live was basically a bunch of people from Chicago's Second City comedy troupe, and you never, you in the beginning you felt like people like John Belushi and Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd and maybe Bill Murray in the later years when he came in after Chevy Chase left. You probably got a sense of them, if you looked at them, that they had a sense of danger about them, that any moment they could say something that could just spew out of their mouth, like, oops, they're not going to be able to put that back in. Once, like they say, once the genie has been released from the bottle. But Eddie Murphy was one of those comedians that he started since he was great in stand-up, he was one of those comedians that he helped start that, oh my God, you don't know this guy, what he's going to come up with. He's one of these people who are going to juxtapose the positions of two different narratives and give you something, a mashup of two things that you normally wouldn't put together, like peanut butter and jelly you would put together, but he would give you like jelly and mustard, and you put them together in a sandwich and make you eat it. And then you would laugh because you would say how absurd. You would never see that, like his introduction of Gumby, buckwheat, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but he would call it Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. But he was amazing. So I've always said to myself, I have to start collecting some physical copies of what do you call it, Eddie Murphy's first, movies. I'm not sure if you know, because this is the first time I'm telling you. The first time he started acting in movies, like 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop, Coming to America. So I said to myself, I'm going to have to start collecting some of these Eddie Murphy classics. 48 Hours was one of my favorite movies. It was one of the first movies Eddie Murphy came out with. So then I started putting these on my list. I put down Coming to America, and I was thinking about Trading Places, but I hadn't put it on my list as of yet. But Eddie Murphy was one of those people on my DVD physical media list that I've been thinking about. I really have to collect his sort of collection of his body of work. Also, I said to myself, Dragnet, which was funny, which was with Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd. It was Dragnet back in 1987. I tell people a lot of times, oh, you ever seen Dragnet? And people say, no, it wasn't really that funny. But there's a lot of funny moments in Dragnet. Dragnet could have been even funnier, but it seemed like it was being held back too much. But Dragnet was a brilliant premise. It which could have been really funny. It was sort of like Police Academy. Police Academy was one of these amazing, funny movies because things just started coming down like a house of cards. Because it was sort of like a movie, Police Academy. It was sort of like it was founded on a flimsy work of trying to maintain a city of law and order with recruits and cadets of people who just don't want to be there, sort of like the French Foreign Legion. And then they put these people together, sort of like paper tigers, and then they were surprised that it started coming down and started coming apart. But eventually, spoiler, they resolved everything, and they were able to, the new recruits were able to come up to the task. And I always said to myself, this movie could continue, this thing could have continued like Police Squad. It could have continued on if they had the right ability of writing. You know, you keep coming up with a new recruit. You can keep putting the people who were there in the beginning, start being the new leaders and the new sergeants and new commanders. And you could, since it's Police Academy, you could still keep showing a new recruit of people, sort of like the French Foreign Legion, and the comedy would ensue there. So that's what Dragnet had, the ability of being very funny, but I think they started becoming they played it too safe. But there's a lot of funny aspects of the movie, and I always found interesting. And the most interesting thing about the physical copy of Dragnet, now, Dragnet, it's hard to find, but I was able to find in Best Buy, one of the stores that are just trying to push out all the physical media. Because Best Buy and I think sort of Target, they want to become places where they sell appliances, televisions, you know, and all this other physical media stuff that doesn't make so much money. They're just going to push it off to the side because it was to them, it was nothing more than window dressing. It didn't really generate a lot of money for them. So they were started to concentrate on the big ticket items like televisions, refrigerators, vacuum cleaners, air conditioners. So it's almost like going to be a PC Richards. And you see how PC Richards is doing. They're pretty much floundering too. Remember, this is my own opinion. I don't want anyone to sue me. So if I'm incorrect, later you could tell me, hey, you're just incorrect, okay? So it's neither here nor there. So let's just move on. So as I was saying, I started collecting. So I was able to find Dragnet. 4 movies. There was 4 movies combined. It was Dumb Luck or Pure Luck with Martin Short and Danny Glover. Junior, I think it was with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and also Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Those 3 other movies weren't that funny, but they still combined them all together, and I think the final cost was about $4 to $5. And this is the funny part, folks. So if you want to see that film on, I guess, Amazon Prime, it will cost you about $4 to $5 to see it once on Amazon Prime, to rent it. The rental, once it's finished, once you finish seeing it, that's it. One-time shot, $4 to $5, that's it. If you want to buy it, it's between $7 to $8 for that movie. That movie wasn't even that good or that great. I sort of wanted to see it because it reminded me when I went to the movie theaters back in the day, back in the late 80s, when there was sometimes there wouldn't be anything to see, and you would just go to the 42nd Street theaters for $5 and see one of these movies. So I said to myself, let me purchase it. And now I could see it over and over again. And it's one of those movies that can just play in your background, and you could always see something you missed. Next thing I wanted to get was from Best Buy, that they said they have now the steelbook copy of Suicide Squad. And I always said to myself, oh my God, I miss buying Suicide Squad, because I said to myself, I'll wait till the price lowers. And by the time the price lowered, the digital copy doesn't exist anymore. So now maybe they'll reintroduce it, maybe they won't, but now they have a steelbook, Blu-ray, Suicide Squad. And the funny part about it is that some people tell me, what's going to happen one day when Blu-rays don't exist anymore and they start making Blu-rays? So then I'm stuck with all these physical copies of Blu-ray without DVDs in them, or a digital copy. Or when like I stop paying for it, because one day they're going to ask you, they'll come to you like they did in cable. In the beginning, cable was very inexpensive. I think it was like $20 a month. Sort of like the internet. You can get it, if you're lucky, some places you can get it for $20 a month, and they can go as high. I'm paying $30, believe it or not. And they can even go as high as, $50 to $100, and eventually they'll be able to come to you and say, hey, it's $300. What are you going to say? If you're one of those people who paid for Netflix, you don't have any physical media, you got rid of it, you sold it, you don't have any physical media anymore, your entertainment is dead there. You're going to be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I have no physical copies of any DVDs. I'm stuck. I don't want to pay $300 to see my system on the net. What am I going to do? Well, I guess you're going to have to buy the digital copies, put them on a hard drive, learn some computer work, know how to do that, put them into your laptop, shoot it off your laptop onto your big screen. You're going to have to start becoming technically inclined. By that point, you'll be like, forget it. I might as well just go back to coloring books. So the interesting part is Suicide Squad, right? They come in with a steelbook, only from Best Buy. I think it's a Best Buy exclusive steelbook. And the interesting thing too is DC came out with a second Suicide Squad animated. I think it's Suicide Squad Hell to Pay. I haven't seen it as of yet. I'm going to try to see it, and then I can review that. Also, I was also interested in 500, Part 2. I loved it more than I enjoyed Part 1. And I think one of the reasons why I loved it like everybody did was because of Eva Green, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. If I'm not, I'm so sorry. But she was one of the most outstanding things in that picture. If you've seen it and you know what I mean. And last but not least, I was always saying The Cell was a great movie. It was so underrated, but it was one of those great movies you always said to yourself, I should purchase this movie, because this is the first movie that came out about going into people's dreams. But there were others, I think. There was others like Dreamscape and Freddy Krueger. But this is one of those movies, like it was like one of those first Inception movies, like Dreamscape, where you would go into, where Jennifer Lopez was a child psychologist who would go into the mind of the serial killer who was torturing, killing people, and she had to go into his mind to save his last victim, who was trapped in a water escape-proof device. So she had to go in, and the beautiful imagery and the colors and the costumes are so amazing. This is The Cell. If you have it, it's a feast for the eyes. Now people are saying, hey, why are you just talking about Blu-rays, DVDs, and digital? What about the 4K? Why don't you talk about that? Aren't you collecting 4K? Well, no, I'm not collecting 4K. I don't have a 4K television. I'm not buying a 4K, DVD player, or the whole apparatus that you have to probably spend anywhere up towards $2,000 to $3,000, maybe $4,000 on this whole thing, audio system and television screen. That's all this nonsense. I'm not going to get into that. And plus, they say as humans, our eyes are ready for 4K. We don't have that ability. We haven't evolved from some of the people comments I've seen on YouTube, where they've said, there's really no ability for the human eye to be able to see at that level of 4K. It's sort of like when Blu-ray was fighting HD, and Blu-ray won, I think, because I think with HD, it was sort of like the same thing. Blu-ray just happened to win. I guess they started becoming cheaper, so that's how they edged out. But there's a whole story. If you want to chase after the story, there's always ways you can see for references on YouTube or other sorts of information you can start collecting. So that's what I was saying. The Cell is one of those movies I'm going to have to start chasing down to see if I can get a physical copy of it. Aside from that, I have a long list of other movies, but we can get to that after I tell you what I have now on what I brought with me today from my shopping. But I'm not going to tell you where it is, because I think there would be a conflict of interest, but you can find these places. But some of the other places they have price matches are usually better. So the first movie that I would like to show you is Trading Places. This is going to be the Blu-ray digital. This is the 35th anniversary of Trading Places. This was an amazing movie with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. And it was great how Dan Aykroyd was showing Eddie Murphy the ropes, because by the time Eddie Murphy had come to the scene, Dan Aykroyd was gone. I think him and his cast in Saturday Night Live, they only lasted 5 years. From that, it went to a new production, to Dick Ebersol production, and he was producing it. And people said, that's dead. No way it's going to be funny. But Dick Ebersol was able to find a comedian, a young, smart comedian like Eddie Murphy. And like they say, he really pulled his bacon from the fire and saved Saturday Night Live. If it wasn't for Eddie Murphy, Saturday Night Live wouldn't still be in the air. And some people I know are saying, what, Saturday Night Live is still on the air? Yes, folks. Hard to believe, it's still on the air. Okay, let me run through this real quick, because I think we only have about 7 minutes from what I see in the clock on the wall. Next is the 30th anniversary of Eddie Murphy coming to America. This is Blu-ray and digital. I'm doing both backups just in case. I have the digital and the Blu-ray. Who knows how long the Blu-rays are going to last. They said some of these physical copies only have a 10-year lifespan if you treat them correctly, because they're all scanned in with magnetics or magnet on the disc, and virtually like Thanos, they slowly start to erode and they disappear into the ether. This is one of Eddie Murphy's classic great films out there. You get a ton of laughs from this film. And the great thing about this film is you can keep rewinding, well, not rewinding because it's DVD, but you can keep going back to the scenes you miss and seeing it over and over again. And there's always new jokes that you may have missed because you were laughing so hard the first time. And I always tell people, well, I tell people now how it's amazing. Between these two movies, the 35th anniversary of Trading Places was an awesome film. One of Eddie Murphy's, I think, second or third films, to Eddie Murphy's coming to America. I think this may have been the second one, because after that was Beverly Hills Cop. And when Beverly Hills Cop came out, that's when we knew that, boom, Eddie Murphy had really come of age. Had come out to become a huge star. So then this is 30th anniversary. Between these two films, there was a 5-year span. Amazing, folks. Jeez, that's a lot of years for a person to be working and making comedies. Comedies are difficult. There were always hits, but there were some hits and misses, but, more hits than misses. Okay, next we have here that I purchased recently. I don't want to advertise too much from where I purchased it. It says so much here, but these are exclusive, folks. Sometimes you have to mention it, from Best Buy. These are exclusive. This one is the steel book version of The Kingsman, Blu-ray and digital. This is a beautiful, look at it. It's a beautiful steel book. This is the steel books are getting better, because before they would just used to attach them together and you would open them and they would fall apart. Now they started putting them together in a manner with a spine, so they could stay together and not fall apart every time you open it. But this is amazing. This is one of these amazing films that came out of nowhere. This franchise can continue. The second one I wasn't so hot about, because it was sort of like the same tropes of the first movie was what they started doing in the second, because you could tell that the second was almost just a little bit of a rip-off of the first. The first is the best. Like they always say, it's like the first time you pull the rabbit out of the hat, it's always hard to put it back, or pulling the genie out of the bottle, it's always hard to put it back. But this is one of the amazing films out there. If you have a chance, get your physical copy before it's gone. And also, I've had this in my collection for a very long time. This is The Watchmen. I've heard that they're going to start coming out with a project on HBO. It's going to be a series. Right now, from everything I've been reading, I'm not sure, it's between they're going to do the Watchmen. It's going to come about as I guess right from the comic book, the 5 hours of the comic book, or 5-hour series, or it's going to be like the beginning of the Watchmen, of what was happening in the beginning. So I'm not really too sure what the Watchmen is going to be. But I purchased this after I saw the movie. I know a lot of people may have not liked the film, but I watched this movie over and over again. This is the ultimate edition Watchmen complete collection. You see, you get this beautiful fold out. It's all a bit magnets. You see the front, the blood on the watch. You turn it around. You see the story within the Watchmen, which was about a man's peril, where he was taken by his whole crew was killed by pirates. The end is 9. This is always a thing that goes over and over again. If you see it or you read the book, it's I guess Rorschach's one of his Rorschach's saying. You see, you have 2 DVDs. You have this, The Watchmen, the Ultimate Collection. Look at how beautiful this is. This is physical media, folks. The comedian, Ozymandias, Rorschach, Dr. Manhattan, the Night Owl, Silk Spectre. You see? This is the beauty of these copies. And also, they give you the complete motion comic. This is a 5-hour motion comic. It's amazing. 2 5-hour motion comics. And this is where, within this one, they give you the story of the Black Freighter. Since it's 5 hours, they give you the whole thing. In The Watchmen, they completely eliminated it. It was a beautiful story. But I think it was, when I was, I guess, back in the 80s, when I read the comic book, I sort of felt it was a way of them to slow down the story, because they may have not, the story may have been only 2 hours, the whole story, but it sort of seems sometimes comics want to slow it down so they can sell more books, make more money from a story. Because if they had to tell a story, it may have been a few books instead of the amount of comics which would turn into a graphic novel that would come out of The Watchmen. But in reality, they edit it down. You come out with 2 hours worth of the movie. So this is what I've been back. Oh, well, folks, we're almost wrapping up. Thank you. Stay tuned, and we're going to continue the show after this. Good night. Now, folks, I have said good night to the live show. Now this is the continuing of the YouTube show. So we're going to do 10 minutes more. We're going to run. This show was stopped from the live show after 28 minutes. Yes, after 28 minutes. Now, I'm going to, if they allow me, before they kick me out of the studio, maybe I'll do a deep dive into 10 more minutes. So I guess we could go till like the 40-minute mark. Instead of the 38-minute mark, which would be the 10 minutes, we'll go to the 40-minute mark, which would be 12 minutes, just to give it a nice rounding off number. So like I had said before, and please subscribe, please like. I'm going to try to put these, I guess, these copies up on YouTube. When Frank gets back, he'll help me put this together, and then we could have these episodes that showed up a little. They'll show up a little more. So here, let me see if I can put them up if they won't fall over. But yeah, I guess they're gonna fall over. So I'll just put them here. So the other things I was talking about, my deep dive of collection and my collecting of the movies that I enjoyed. Well, because some of these movies you can sort of see the psychology of the director, the psychology of the cinematographer, the story writing of the person who's involved. And they say sometimes it can get ruined if, I guess, corporate gets involved. And then when the corporate, who doesn't really know too much of the artistic workings behind movies, they'll start ruining it. But I can, since we have maybe 10 minutes more, I can start talking about my list and my collection of DVDs and the movies that I really liked and really enjoyed. And I'm going to start trying to collect more. I wish I could still get the both copies, the Blu-ray and the DVD, because let's say one day Blu-ray players aren't a thing anymore, we will just have to start getting back into the DVD copy. Like I've stained a little bit here with my, I think those are either the magnets. At first I thought they were my fingerprints, but these are probably the glue of the magnets. But it's a beautiful box cover of The Watchmen. Look how amazing, look how that beautiful yellow comes out. Well, now I'll guess I'll get into what I want to get in, since there's not really a movie to review, since it's the summer right now. Hopefully the people who saw this live, we were seeing this Saturday, the 11th of August, 2018. If you saw this live, it started maybe 30 minutes ago. So let me get into the deep dive of talking about the movies that I've started collecting and I really enjoyed so much. We might not agree with the movies, but hear me out. See what you think. Maybe you might come around, you might change your mind. But there's a lot of other classic movies I am always looking into purchasing, like from the Humphrey Bogart collection. A lot of the Humphrey Bogart movies were amazing. The Maltese Falcon, him as Sam Spade, Casablanca. They even talked about To Have and Have Not, which was a book adaptation from Hemingway. But that film sort of was Hemingway, and then at another point it takes a left turn, like they say. And then you sort of see, when you see that movie, you sort of see the makings of a lot of these movies. They sort of started coming into the making of Casablanca, because it's sort of like you do vignettes. You work with a movie. You keep, back in the day, they used to work with movies. They used to make movies until they saw something in it and says, oh, let's continue with this. Let's take this, and boom, we'll put it into another movie, and that'll be our Casablanca. And Treasure of the Sierra Madres from Humphrey Bogart, where he acted in, was great. Some of the John Wayne films I want to start collecting. The Searchers, I want to start getting into those. Stagecoach. You know, there's a lot of awesome films that he did out there that people don't know existed. There used to be a culture in, I guess, America, where you used to see all these old movies on regular television. Now they're in the between channels and you have to chase them down. I recently purchased chasing down movies. I recently purchased some older classic films, well, which is not so old, but older TV shows. I purchased the Miami Vice TV show. I heard that's going to get a reboot as a TV show, which is better. It should definitely get back as a TV show, and it should have more of an edge, and it should definitely be on a cable show, like a HBO, where more audience can see it, or on Netflix, where like Narcos, so it can have an edge to it. Because shows without an edge, you know, either you have good writing, and if you don't want to have good writing, it's not going to have an edge, and it's going to be terrible. So it should definitely go on a show like an AMC channel, where it can, Miami Vice definitely needs to have more of an edge. Because just like Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, people are love these characters of people who have encounters with the drug and the drug culture. Not necessarily that they're enthralled with, getting introduced with drugs, but they're just interested behind the back workings of this whole side of life and the shady side of respectable society that nobody wants to talk about too much. All right, so getting back to my collection. I'm not going to go through the whole collection because it's a lot of movies here, but to tell you the truth, I could probably go through them really fast. I had the special collection that I had purchased a long time ago from Bed Bath & Beyond. It was a movie called Wanted, and it starred Angelina Jolie. It wasn't the greatest film, but to me it was amazing. They shot this film in in a place that I work in now. They shot it on the 9th floor of the place I worked. And people always tell me, oh, why didn't you go see them? Well, they shot it on the weekend. They shot it on Saturday and Sunday. So there were no workers there, so that we could actually see Angelina Jolie or I forgot the name of this amazing actor who's now going to be doing he's going to be doing Glass. He was in Split, and it's going to be this whole trilogy of the M. Night Shyamalan trilogy of Unbreakable. So Wanted, I have this beautiful DVD collection of Wanted that comes in this plastic box that you take it out of with a bullet in the box, and it's amazing. It's like the cap of the bullet that says Wanted around it, and the plastic looked like it's shattered, and you pull it out, you open it up, it comes with a scene from the movie with Angelina Jolie, like if you see the movie where she sort of curves the bullet when she shoots, like a lot of these people who are hitmen have to curve the bullet or do these amazing shooting tricks to become this League of Assassins. The other movie I have is Akira. I seen Akira. It's an anime. It came out. Now it's in a Blu-ray DVD combo. I'm hoping that they'll do a Blu-ray DVD digital combo, but maybe next year, maybe not. But it even seems that getting a digital copy is hard nowadays. Dusk Till Dawn from Quentin Tarantino. I have a whole Quentin Tarantino DVDs that I'm really beginning to get interested. Recently, I just purchased, what was it? I purchased the Kill Bill, a series of our with Uma Thurman of Kill Bill. Let me see if I have it here. Yes, folks, here it is, the Kill Bill double Blu-ray feature, and it's also a digital copy with Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. This originally was supposed to be one movie, and he split it because there was so much storytelling in it, and it came out amazing with an animated cartoon in it. So I said to myself, I don't have it on Blu-ray. I'm surprised. I never got it on Blu-ray, or I never got it physical copy. So now, boom, finally, my answers of having almost a completed Quentin Tarantino collection is done. From Dusk Till Dawn to Kill Bill to, let me see what else from Quentin Tarantino. They have Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs. These are my favorite Quentin Tarantino films. Other films from Jake Gyllenhaal. He was in Nightcrawlers. It's one of these amazing films, so underrated that people should really go out there and try to catch. Sucker Punch, Pinocchio, Kick-Ass 1 or 2, Tron. I know a lot of people don't like Tron. X-Men First Class, Expendables, the first one, not so the other. Inception, The Edge of Tomorrow, Tommy Boy, Fight Club, an overall amazing film. Animal House, an amazing comedy, but it's older comedy. It's the comedy of of the day of, we would say, Saturday Night Live. Fast Time at Ridgemont High, and like I said, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Mighty Python, The Meaning of Life. They were a really funny comedy troupe, like the Broken Lizards. They always talk about that was their aspiration, Mighty Python. Goldmember, Hellboy, Apocalypse Now, Stallone's Rambo. It was the last Rambo movie that came out. Team America, World Police, Requiem for a Dream. Well, there's The Crow, The Punisher, Warzone, Die Hard collection. I got the Die Hard Steelbook collection. Big Trouble in Little China, 2001. Stanley Kubrick collection, which is 2001. Clockwork Orange and The Shining. The Dark Knight trilogy, all 3 movies. The Fifth Element. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And Kung Fu, like I just said, the completed edition. This is to complete my old, TV collections that include Miami Vice. And I recently had the first season of Have Gun Will Travel. I sold the whole complete collection for $100, but I'm like, well, I'm going to wait. Maybe they'll drop the price because a lot of people don't remember those movies. Well, thank you for being with me on this Saturday, hopefully for seeing the show. Hopefully I'm going to put this up. There's a lot of hope in the show. They'll put this up, put it on YouTube. You can subscribe, please. Give it a thumbs up, like it. Help us influence more people to, make more art and do great works like the ones before you. Thank you so much. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for taking the time out and watching the program. You've been wonderful. This has been a great, more than 30 years working with Frank. Well, I haven't been working with him for 30 years, but he's been working for 30 years. I've been helping him being there with him for the last 3 years. And also we would like to thank the people who lend us their studio, Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and the whole cast and crew of people. Thank you so much. Have a good day. See you in the movies, like Sister Annie would say. Bye.